Hello out there in Nostalgia Land. I'm Chuck Schaden with another hour of memories. Today, return with us to those golden days of yesteryear. From out of the past, the Lone Ranger rides again. Then it's Howdy Doody time, and then we'll look at some radio premiums from Tom Mix and Jack Armstrong. So stick around, it all begins in just a minute. Don't touch that channel.
Everyone loves a bargain. That's why you're going to love Townhouse TV and Appliances Floor Sample Sellout Sale. You'll see bargains everywhere. Save on rows and rows of major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos. Yes, at Townhouse, save on GE refrigerators, GE ranges, and microwaves, even GE washers and dryers. Hurry, don't miss it.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
It used to be you needed $100,000 to get a jumbo CD rate. But now you can be $80,000 short and still get it. With Craig and Federal's new Instant Access CD, $20,000 gets you a top jumbo CD rate or higher for a year. Plus instant liquidity. You can add funds or withdraw funds. For the latest rates on the Instant Access CD, call Cragen today.
We're at the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Here, a trackload of railroad cabooses have been restored on the outside and remodeled on the inside. Deluxe accommodations for rest and relaxation in beautiful Lake Geneva, just 90 minutes from Chicago. Each caboose has a double bed and a sleeper sofa, and each is an individual unit. You'll spend the night in your very own caboose. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that start with the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 414-248-RAIL.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a haughty Hi-Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger.
The legend of the Lone Ranger has it that the Lone Ranger had a great horse named Silver. He used silver bullets, and his hideout was an abandoned silver mine. Well, I think we've come to that abandoned silver mine, and we've found all of the Lone Ranger's personal effects. Actually, we've come to the home of Dick Fuss in Round Lake, Illinois, and Dick is a great collector of all of the things that pertain to and from and about the Lone Ranger. Dick, how long have you been collecting all of this material?
About 7 years. It'll be 7 years this month. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of walking, a lot of looking. But I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, where have you looked? Where have you walked?
Well, I've been go to all the antique flea markets in St. Charles, Wheaton, Grayslake, Kane County, Arlington Park Racetrack, Cedarburg, McWanago up here in Wisconsin. And those are mostly the main places where you find this kind of stuff. You go to garage sales and stuff like that, you don't find too much. If you do, you just find bits and pieces. But you have to go to these antique shows and find this stuff. A lot of the stuff I found through Anita Gold's column in the Tribune last year ago, January.
You mean to say you wrote to her saying, where can I get some of this stuff? And she...
No, she wrote a story on my collection. And it came out in January of '86, and this story got syndicated into 17 states. And it's been all over California, Arizona, Texas, and a lot of this stuff I did get from a lot of these people because they wrote to me. I wrote 200 letters. There's a couple hundred letters in that box down there that people have written to me from all over the United States, and I bought a lot of stuff all over the United States, and they shipped the stuff to me.
Now, the material that you collect all Lone Ranger, you collect anything about the Lone Ranger?
Anything pertaining to the Lone Ranger, Tonto, Silver, anything that has to do with it.
Well, why the Lone Ranger? Why do you collect the Lone Ranger?
I just always liked the Lone Ranger. I don't know, I've always did from a kid on and listened to him on the radio. And
you were a kid yourself listening to the Lone Ranger as it was broadcast out of radio station WXYZ in Detroit. You know the story and the legend of the Lone Ranger. Tell us, how did it begin?
Well, originally, he was a Texas Ranger. And the 6 Texas Rangers went into Bryant's Gap looking for this Butch Cavendish gang. They got in the Bryant's Gap, and the Cavendish gang was around the outside of the perimeter of the canyon. And they all got in the canyon, and Butch Cavendish opened fire on the 6 Texas Rangers. Well, they left him for dead.
He was the only one, this one Ranger was the only one who survived the attack.
And Tonto found him. He buried 5 bodies. He dug 6 graves. And he nursed the Ranger, John Reed, back to health. And he says, I got to have a disguise or something to cover up my identity. He says, now you dug 6 graves, and there's only 5 bodies there. So he took a piece of material out of his brother's vest, and he made a mask. And he put the mask on, and Tonto said, now you are the Lone Ranger.
And they rode the range very, very successfully for many years.
Got a lot of bad guys.
Yeah. Now, which among the things that you have in your collection, which is the rarest piece?
The rarest piece is that I've never seen before is them bullet pens I have in a box over there. You put it on your belt. It's got a belt holder, and there's 3 silver pens, bullets. And you got the Lone Ranger, Silver, and Tonto pictured on the pens. And when you pull them apart and turn them around, they're ballpoint pens. And then etched in the leather are figures of the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and Silver. And I've never seen another set. I've seen pens, but I've never seen the belt holder, and nobody else has either.
Now, they've made all kinds of Lone Ranger collectibles like this over there. They were, first of all, some of them were toys. Some were premiums from the radio and the TV series. And others were, well, costumes and things of that nature. Over what period of time had they produced all of this adjacent stuff to the Lone Ranger?
The biggest year, I believe, is 1938. That's when most of your premiums really came out. That was a big year because there's a lot of stuff here that tends back to 1938.
What are some of the things you have from 38?
Oh, this is 1938 right here, this little book. And you got to think here. These hand puppets are 1938. Your first aid kits are 1938 and 39. And there's just a number of things. 38 and 39 were big years.
I used to enjoy reading Lone Ranger comic books. Now, you have a tremendous collection of Lone Ranger comic books, don't you?
Right, I do. There's 145 all total. I'm only short 6 of the 145.
Now, let me ask you a question about the value of some of this stuff. 100 and how many?
145.
145, and you have all but 6. Now, I assume that you got those 139 piecemeal, right? Some here, some there over the period of time. Some you probably paid $1 for, some you paid many dollars for.
And some I passed up because they wanted too much money.
That's the question. Now, well, what price glory on all of this stuff? You passed them up. Are those 6 that you're looking for, do you know, are they around? Do you know where they are?
I sure do.
Now, what is it going to take for you to get those things? Is it a wearing down of your own resistance?
Yes.
or will you wear down the collector?
I'll try to. I mean, if he comes down to my price, fine. If he don't, well, I'll just have to keep looking, that's all. Because somewhere out there, there's something in a decent price range.
So you really don't care about having it today?
Today, right.
You say, I've got time?
I find it. Okay, say I just bought about 11 books from a fellow up in Cedarburg, and it filled out my Gold Key collection. There was 28 issues.
That's a brand of comic book, right?
That's a copyright. That's the copyright. They're made by, they're made up in Racine by Whitman. And I needed the number 1 and I needed number 26, and I found the 2, so I got that complete selection of them now. And the ones he had up there are mint condition. There's about 6 or 7 I bought from him. They had never been read. I mean, they're going back into the 50s and the 60s.
Now, you have the very first Lone Ranger comic book.
Very first.
From when? When was that issued?
August or October 1948.
So
they were the pulpwoods.
First Lone Ranger comic came out in 48, even though the Lone Ranger started on radio back in...
January 30th, 1933.
I knew you would have that date.
And George Seaton was our very first Lone Ranger on radio.
Now, the last Lone Ranger comic book was produced when?
1962.
62. That's probably when the end of the TV Lone Ranger wrapped up. When was the final TV series?
TV ended in 1956.
Oh, only in 56. Well, it started when?
For 1949.
Television 49.
Television 49 to 56.
Okay.
Clayton Moore made 167 episodes and John Hart made 52.
Everyone loves a bargain. That's why you're going to love Townhouse TV and Appliances Floor Sample Sellout Sale. You'll see bargains everywhere. Save on rows and rows of major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos. Yes, at Townhouse, save on Zenith color TVs, Zenith VCRs, and camcorders, even Zenith giant screen TVs. Hurry, don't miss it.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse. We're at the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Here, a trackload of railroad cabooses have been restored on the outside and remodeled on the inside. Deluxe accommodations for rest and relaxation in beautiful Lake Geneva, just 90 minutes from Chicago. Each caboose has a double bed and a sleeper sofa, and each is an individual unit. You'll spend the night in your very own caboose. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that start with the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 414-248-RAIL. If Craig & Federal Savings promises a 30-day closing on your mortgage, do you promise to stop worrying? Well, with Cragen's Quick Close Adjustable Mortgage Loan, you get an approval decision within 7 working days after you apply, and a closing date within a very snappy 30 days. Plus, there are no points to pay at closing. So stop worrying and get a hold of Cragen for a low-interest mortgage and a 30-day closing. Promise.
What is your favorite? What are the favorite things that you have in your collection?
I like my radio, for one.
A Lone Ranger face on the dial. Lone Ranger in silver right on the face of the dial of the radio here. Who makes this radio?
It's made by Pilot Radio Corporation out of Long Island, New York. It was sold out to a company in Texas back about, I'd say about 6, maybe longer than that, about 8 or 9 years ago. And I tried to find out the era of it, and then later on I found in a book that it was made in 1940. And there's another airline radio down here that was made in 1951, was put out by Montgomery Ward's, who the manufacturer. I never did go inside to see who the manufacturer was.
Okay, Dick, let's take a closer look at some of the things you have in your collection. Now, what are these, Dick?
Those are your Heartlands. They're made up in Heartland, Wisconsin. They're not rare, but they're expensive when you go to buy them.
And what are they made of?
They're made of a plastic or a not plaster, but it's a hard plastic. Here's a couple of bars of soap, one with the Lone Ranger. These are Castile soap, Lone Ranger and Tonto, in the original boxes, 1939.
Yeah, I see a Tonto headdress here. Where did that come from now? What is that
That's
story
just
of that?
part of a of a costume. That's all I found was the headdress. That's all the lady in Evanston had. It was in a store, an antique store in Evanston, and I went in to pick that up, but I got that from her. And like I say, that goes with a Tonto outfit, which I never did find.
There's some Lone Ranger currency down here, which looks an awful lot like U.S. currency, with a picture of the Lone Ranger and another with Tonto on it. What is that? Is that picture just pasted on there, or what?
No, that is imprinted right in the paper. I don't know how they get away with it, but I bought the Lone Ranger one from a fellow in Ohio, El Rayo, Ohio, and then later on I picked up the Tonto one. But they are not pasted on. It is right in the paper. That is a real dollar bill. And like I say, I don't know how they get away with doing that, but you can get John Wayne, you can get anybody's picture on there that you want.
Notice a line of Big Little books that you have over here.
Those are Big Little books, and there are Better Little books. And then there are new Better Little books. They are the larger one. This one's upside down.
Now these are stories, miniature stories of the Lone Ranger.
They're miniature stories of the big hardcover books.
And you have a fantastic collection of the hardcover books. These are all written by Franz Stryker.
Franz Stryker, all but the one is written by Gaylord Dobis. The targets are nice. They're in good shape. This is a small one. The medium and the large one are hanging on the wall over there.
You have clocks here too, I see.
Oh, yes.
Wristwatches, pocket watches, alarm clocks.
This is the 39 wristwatch, which I'm wearing. What happened to my... Here we are. These are my pocket watches. These are 1939. They're made by New Haven in running condition. I do have two of them because they have different dials on them.
The legend is that the Lone Ranger's original sponsor was Silver Cup Bread, so yes. I noticed you have a few things around here with Silver Cup on there because it's related to the Lone Ranger. You've had a number of the spin-offs, so to speak. You have Tonto material here and even Butch Cavendish items, right?
Mm-hmm. Quite a bit of Butch Cavendish stuff here.
Over the years, there have been many actors who have portrayed the Lone Ranger on radio and television and in feature films. Clayton Moore played the Lone Ranger in the feature films in the 50s and 60s, I guess.
1956.
There was a movie serial, a couple of serials, actually.
They were 1938. That was the Lone Ranger. That was by Republic Pictures. That was with Lee Powell. And then in 39, Robert Livingston came in with the Lone Ranger Rides Again.
Dick, a few years ago, there was a high-budget movie about the Lone Ranger, and the Ranger was portrayed by Clinton Spilsbury. Now, the people who owned the Lone Ranger said that Clayton Moore was too old to play the Lone Ranger in this movie, and in fact, because of a conflict, they didn't want him to go around being the Lone Ranger, and they said he could no longer wear the mask. So he had to wear sunglasses. He wore dark sunglasses in his personal appearance. Well, how do you feel about that? What's your opinion of this excitement that happened with the Lone Ranger just a few years ago?
I felt the same way as a lot of other people did. In fact, they stated that in a lot of their letters. Myself, I did not go see the picture because what they put on the screen wasn't the background of the way the Lone Ranger did anything. They didn't go around blowing up buildings and stuff like that. And all I seen was the previews on the television when it came out in 1980. And I just didn't like what I seen, so I never did go see the picture. I do buy the trivia stuff. There's a lot of legend stuff here. But
merchandising, a lot of merchandise connected with that movie. Now, at the same time, the Lone Ranger, our Lone Ranger, Clayton Moore, was forced to stop wearing the mask. He started wearing those sunglasses. And there was some merchandising of sunglasses, too, in relation to Clayton Moore, the former Lone Ranger.
The Polaroids, the Super Shades.
So it's anything at all that's part of the Lone Ranger is fair game for you. But it's amazing to me that you wouldn't have gone to see that new movie about the Lone Ranger. But you are a man of integrity, I guess.
Well, it's more or less a little pride. I think Clayton Moore deserved a part. They didn't give it to him. And I feel he's getting up there now, and they said he couldn't do it. To me, that man's a picture of health.
Dick, this is a great collection. We appreciate you spending some time with us to show us all of the things you have. And we thank you very much for letting us come by and see it. And I hope that your collection grows and that the Lone Ranger will ride again.
The Lone Ranger.
Everyone loves a bargain. That's why you're going to love Townhouse TV and Appliances Floor Sample Sellout Sale. You'll see bargains everywhere. Save on rows and rows of major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos. Yes, at Townhouse, save on Maytag dishwashers, Maytag heavy-duty washers, even Maytag energy-efficient gas dryers. Hurry, don't miss it.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
The Mysterious Traveler.
The Jimmy Durante Show.
X, minus, 1.
Fibber McGee and Molly. The Amos and Andy Show.
Suspense.
Town Hall Tonight. Philco Radio Time. The Tom Mix Ralston Straight Shooters.
The Guiding Light. Can you top this?
Tom Corbett. Space Cadet.
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother.
True Detective Mysteries.
Nothing gives you a surer financial foothold than the Cragen Guaranteed Growth CD. You see, Cragen Federal Savings guarantees that your rates will climb every year for 3.5 years, even if market rates go down. If the market rates happen to go up, no problem. You can bail out at the end of any year without penalty. Increasing rates plus a chance to escape. With this kind of sure footing against ups and downs, you just can't kick. Well, maybe once.
Howdy doody, doty doody, ho ho ho. Well, howdy doody, kids, and hi, Mr. Smith. Hi, little guy, howdy. And Clarabelle, look at all the kids at home and all the kids in the gallery. What time is it, kids? Howdy doody time. Sure, now let's go. Hi, kids, and hi, everybody. Hi, howdy doody.
It's Howdy Doody time, and we're in the peanut gallery of the Howdy Doody show. No, it really isn't a Howdy Doody show, but I'd like you to meet Clarabelle the Clown. Oh, no, that's not really Clarabelle the Clown. This is super collector of Howdy Doody memorabilia, Jim Swinson. Jim, how long has Howdy Doody been around?
Well, this actually is the 40th year of Howdy Doody, of the start of the Howdy Doody show on TV. Howdy Doody started actually in 1947 on radio.
Howdy Doody, the puppet, on radio?
It was difficult to do. It was called Puppet Playhouse. Bob Smith ran a show at that time out of New York City. Then they went to working also as Puppet Playhouse on TV in 1948. As a matter of fact, it was December 27th when they had the first show.
And that's the clip that we saw at the beginning of all of this from the TV kinescope. And they had all the characters, all kinds of Howdy Doody characters. Now, who did we have? Who were the characters? I mentioned Clarabelle the Clown. Now, that was permanent character on every show, right? And he was a real live person.
Clarabelle was one of the few real live people. That's correct. He never talked. There were Dilly Dally. There was Dilly Dally. There was Double Doody, who was the twin brother of Howdy Doody. And then there was Heidi Doody. She was the sister of Howdy Doody. And then there was also Mr. Bluster and the Flubadub, the mysterious multiple animal.
The Flubadub. Now, I remember there was a character on the show that when I watched it as an older kid, I was interested in this character perhaps more than the other ones, and this was Princess Summer, Fall, Winter, Spring. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did I get it right?
That's correct.
Okay, and she was a live person on the program, right?
Yes, she was a live person. There were also times when she appeared as a puppet. And there was another Indian also called Chief Thunder Thud.
Thunder?
Thud.
Thud.
And that's just, he thudded.
instead of thunderclap.
That's correct.
Howdy Doody was on television from
1948.
Until when?
Until for 13 years, and he ran through 1960. Started out on TV as a character called Elmer, believe it or not.
Elmer? Elmer Doody? Or just Elmer?
No, he was just Elmer, and he'd come out on the show and he'd say, "Howdy Doody, kids." And at that point, he was kind of a nerdish, ugly, Mortimer Snurdish type of character.
And then how did they get into from that Howdy Doody to the one we know and love today?
Well, a puppeteer, a gentleman by the name of Frank Paris, owned the rights to the Howdy Doody head. And at that point...
To the head, not the body?
No.
Not the torso, just the head?
Just the head. And at that point, at 6 weeks into the TV program, he decided that there were problems with the rights to the copyright for that head, and he wanted more money. As a result, his negotiations didn't work out that well with NBC and Bob Smith. So they ran the show actually without the puppet for a couple of weeks until they had Walt Disney Studios actually design a new Howdy Doody. And they called him Howdy Doody at that time, but he was actually brought on, and a woman by the name of Velma Dawson created the head for that puppet and made him what we've known today as the smiling, freckle-faced Howdy Doody, which was more appropriate for the children that were watching the show.
Now, at the peak of Howdy Doody's popularity, you could go to toy stores and buy all kinds of toys with Howdy Doody merchandising things, and you also sent for premiums for Howdy Doody things too.
Correct.
Right? Now, the big sponsor of Howdy Doody was who on TV?
Well, actually, it was Paul Parrott Shoes, one of the stand-up Howdies that we have right here was Paul Parrott Shoes. They had comic books. As far as the store-bought merchandise, the very first one was an F&B doll. It wasn't a puppet, it was an F&B doll of Howdy Doody. And actually today that doll's worth about $1,000.
And you have 3 or 4 of them in your collection, right?
No, I'm afraid I don't. That's the one thing I don't have. And discussing that with my wife, it's probably one of those I won't have. So.
Now, you have a whole wonderful collection of Howdy Doody things here. I see you have there's a box of royal chocolate flavored pudding here with Howdy Doody on it. Now, did they sponsor Howdy Doody at one time?
Royal Pudding was one of the bigger sponsors that Howdy Doody had. They also had Welch's, the grape jelly, which was quite popular. And the other one was Be Keen, drink chocolate-flavored Ovaltine.
That looks like a version of a Captain Midnight drinking mug.
That's correct. And it didn't dissolve in a Howdy Doody mug any more than it dissolved in a Captain Midnight mug.
Ovaltine, it was hard for us to dissolve as fast as they all said it would. Right. Now, you have some of the Howdy Doody, are these gloves, Howdy Doody gloves that I see?
That's correct. Howdy Doody eventually became a Texas cowboy, and they moved away from the circus atmosphere of the puppet playhouse. And then Howdy became a cowboy in Doodyville, Texas. What happened then was they established a policy really with the Howdy Doody show where no guns would be allowed and no lassos, because this was a character who was going to run for president of the United States.
But we know a character who used guns and lassos who ultimately did run for president of the United States and made it.
That's correct.
So Howdy Doody lost out. His timing wasn't right, I guess.
That's correct.
Now, I see a Howdy Doody television film, and Howdy Doody looks like a 16mm movie. Now, these were all things that were available to the public, right?
That's correct. Howdy really, by the time the show went off the air, was a $3 billion business.
$3 billion?
And at that time, that was a substantial business.
And how? Through the early 1950s.
Yes.
Had to be a lot of money for NBC, where this was.
And Bob Smith.
And Bob Smith. Ah, yes. Now, the show went off the air, But it made a comeback again a number of years later.
It sure did, and at that time, Howdy came back with a more upbeat appearance. He had, instead of the solid hair that the original puppet had, he had a real wig. His appearance was more current for the 1970s and 1976. He actually, though, at that time, came back trying to appeal to the older peanut gallery.
The people who had been in the peanut gallery the first time around. Huh?
That's correct.
And that show didn't last too long.
The show lasted about 18 months and went off the air.
Now, Buffalo Bob Smith went out on the circuit, talked to colleges, talked to college students as the peanut gallery kids were growing up, so he made a big career of that too, didn't he?
That's correct. He spent 5 years actually going on the college circuit, where he was very popular, and I can understand why. After all, I wanted to see him as well myself.
Now, how did you get started in all of this yourself? Why are you a collector of Howdy Doody merchandise and memorabilia?
Well, I got started mainly with my Howdy Doody Ovaltine mug, which is one of the items I had when I was a boy. And beyond that, I wanted to go back. It was just a time nostalgia. And so I traveled a lot in my work. And so I would go into antique shops and look for Howdy merchandise. And that was one of the ways I really started collecting merchandise from Howdy. It was exciting to find things I had had many years ago.
You got a fun collection here. It's really nice to see all of this Howdy Doody memorabilia. I have one question to ask you yet. Did you ever get an opportunity to be part of the peanut gallery?
No, I didn't, but there are many million people who claim they were.
But you were in front of that old TV screen watching the peanut gallery, right?
Correct. That's correct.
I can see it now, sitting there in front of that TV screen as part of the peanut gallery on the Howdy Doody show.
Okay, let's wave. So long, kids. So long, Howdy. So long, kids. And don't forget that portions of the Howdy Doody show are electrically transcribed. Ho, ho, ho!
It used to be you needed $100,000 to get a jumbo CD rate. But now you can be $80,000 short and still get it. With Craig and Federal's new Instant Access CD, $20,000 gets you a top jumbo CD rate or higher for a year. Plus instant liquidity. You can add funds or withdraw funds. For the latest rates on the Instant Access CD, call Cragen today.
You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse. We're at the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Here, a trackload of railroad cabooses have been restored on the outside and remodeled on the inside. Deluxe accommodations for rest and relaxation in beautiful Lake Geneva, just 90 minutes from Chicago. Each caboose has a double bed and a sleeper sofa, and each is an individual unit. You'll spend the night in your very own caboose. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that start with the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 414-248-RAIL.
Everyone loves a bargain. That's why you're going to love Townhouse TV and Appliances Floor Sample Sellout Sale. You'll see bargains everywhere. Save on rows and rows of major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos. Yes, at Townhouse, save on Quasar color TVs, Quasar VCRs and camcorders, even Quasar microwave ovens. Hurry, don't miss it.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
It's adventure time with Orphan Annie.
This is an original Little Orphan Annie drinking mug offered as a radio premium in the 1930s to listeners of that exciting radio adventure show. We're going to be talking a lot about the exciting radio adventure shows and the premiums that were offered by those shows when we visit with our guest, Mike Campo. We're happy to be here in your home, Mike. How long have you been collecting radio premiums?
Oh, I started collecting about 1962, 63 or so. Offered advertisements for rings and things. And when people heard that I was paying real money for this junk, they scrounged in their attics and found some for me.
Why radio premiums? Why would you collect those and not something easier to find or something else?
Well, that's a funny story. I used to collect Big Little books, and one fellow in Milwaukee wanted one or two books that I had, but he didn't have any to trade. So he sent me a few radio premiums to see if I'd accept those. I did, and it hooked me on collecting radio premiums.
So now you actively solicit radio premiums. You go out trying to find people who have these things.
I have in past years. More recently it's tapered off. Mostly because it's rather difficult to find things that I don't already have now, either here or at the office.
You really have a wonderful collection of radio premiums. Are most of these, Mike, from the kids' shows, the after-school adventure programs?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They sent out the most premiums and the most interesting premiums. However, some shows like the Jack Benny Show did send out one or two small premiums, which are hard to find. I collect anything from old radio that was sent out over or sent out through the mails. And I also collect the boxes and envelopes that they came in.
And that's really what makes the premium a very rare piece, when you have the box and the mailing label and the I suppose the brochure, the descriptive folder that came along with it too.
Oh yes, absolutely. Sometimes the companies that sent out these things don't remember what they sent out, and they say, oh no, we never sent that out. But when you show them the box that it came in with the label and the 3-cent stamp, it jogs their memory and changes their listing of premiums.
Now that's nostalgic, a 3-cent stamp. Those are long gone. That's a real collectible now. Now when you would send for the radio premium, when you listen on the air and you'd hear Franklin McCormick or Pierre Andre or other announcers talking about this, you would not have to send much more than a 3-cent stamp. A dime maybe, or a couple of stamps is all you'd need to get that exciting premium.
Some came free with just a box top. I think the mugs came free, and the shake-up mugs. But for the rings and things, it was usually a dime.
And now you say you pay good money to get some of these things.
Very good money.
What do you have to pay for something? Now, for example, we had this, we looked at this Orphan Annie drinking mug here. What is this worth today to a collector?
A mug in that particular condition would probably be worth $25 or $30 now, I would imagine. That's one of the earlier mugs. It's a pottery mug, and the green paint around the lip of it is still pretty much intact.
This was just one of a series of mugs and shake-up mugs and all different things that you could get from Orphan Annie.
That's true, and that's the pottery mug. The plastic mug did not have the name plastic. When it first came out, it was called beetleware. And so your plastic mug was really a beetleware mug. That's a later edition of this one.
And you have those too?
Oh, yes.
How far back does this go?
Oh, that's into the 30s easily. I don't know exactly what year, because they sent out several versions of the pottery mug with different decals on them.
Now, you said that this was worth $25 or $30. Now, if you didn't have this mug in your collection, and somebody came, if this, you had everything else, but this was the only thing left, would you pay, and he said he wanted double that money, would you pay that?
I'm noted for being rather cheap, but he might. He might.
It depends on your mood at the time.
Right, and how badly I want it and what kind of condition it's in.
Where have you found all of these things? Where I know you said you've advertised here or there, but have you found any in unusual places?
Friends have given me some. Just 10 days ago, a friend brought to a party at my home an original mailing box from the Lone Ranger, opened it up, and there were 5 or 6 rings in it that he just wanted to give me. Antique shops in various parts of the country have written to me and said they had certain items, and I've purchased from them. Individuals, mostly, though. Especially individuals that come from a large family where they would not order just one Captain Midnight decoder, but perhaps 3 or 4, and then use only 1 or 2, and I would be able to pick up the other, still unused in its original box, never opened.
Oh, boy. And that really is something special.
Oh, yes.
So many of these things. What excites you now? What turns you on? What gets you interested in premiums now?
The few that I don't have yet, that I would like to get. And someday I'll run across them. Some of them people think don't exist, but I know they do because as a child I had 1 or 2 of them. For example, a Buck Rogers glow-in-the-dark belt with a metal buckle that had a secret compartment in it. It's not listed, but I know it's there somewhere.
And you'll find it, too.
Oh, one of these days. One of these days.
Shows that I like to listen to as a kid on the radio was the Tom Mix Ralston Straight Shooters.
Ah, yes.
I know you've got a bunch of Tom Mix collectibles here, and so many other things. Let's listen in to a little bit of Tom Mix. Look at some of the collectibles, and then you mentioned rings before. Let's take a close look at some of the rings that you have. I'll just turn this on. I'll touch this dial.
Tom Mix Ralston Straight Shooters are on the air from coast to coast. When it's Ralston time at breakfast, then it surely is a treat to have Smithful flavored Ralston, baked golden western wheat. Breakfast as it is evening, and you find before you're through with a lot of green boards, your taste keen. It's hot for breakfast too. Ask your mother in the morning, serve you up a steaming plate. It's Grandma Foley's cereal, and the cowboys think it's great. Once you try it, you'll stay by it, for it's really swell to eat. Today Jimmy Tuesday, it's best for you. Ralston cereal can't be beat.
And this is a Tom Mix Radio Premium in the flesh. Mike, what is this?
This is a Tom Mix slide whistle ring.
You mean a that kind of a thing?
Exactly, and the doggone thing still works.
Oh boy! And it looks like the TM bar symbol is in the at the base of the ring there.
That's right. That was quite common with the Tom Mix Radio Premiums. And he was just about the champ in sending out radio premiums. I think there's more of his floating around than from any other show.
That must mean, you mean today there's still more of those floating around?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That must mean that he sent out more than anybody else, huh?
True. I think you're right. Ralston must have made a fortune in dimes.
Next we have another, this is another Tom Mix ring now.
That's a Tom Mix magnet ring. One of the few little rings that still works after all these years. Many of them stopped working simply of their own accord, but these two just keep on working beautifully.
Well, Tom Mix always worked beautifully anyway, so it was good to have them. Now, where did you find this ring? Where did you get that one? Can you remember?
Yes, this was in a package of about 10 Tom Mix radio premiums that was sent to me from an antique shop in Appleton, Wisconsin. Just beautiful condition, absolutely beautiful.
Never know where you're going to find something good like... Uh-oh. Now that isn't the Lone Ranger atom bomb ring, is it?
No, that's a Terry and the Pirates gold ore detector ring, and
gold ore.
Gold ore detector. One imagines that if you look through it, somehow you're going to detect some gold ore. But it's in very good shape. You can see that it's bright and shiny after all these years.
Terry and the Pirates, exciting radio show from those great days.
Yes.
Up, and away.
Yes, this looks like a job for Superman. That's the Superman Crusader ring. Very good copy of it, too. As you can see, it has Superman's face and chest on the face of the ring.
The Man of Steel, right there. You can see the emblem, that exciting S.
Yes,
that's
indeed.
really exciting. More premiums. Oh, what the heck is this?
All right, this is another Superman ring. This is a flying jet plane ring, and as you can see, it's got string attached to the plane, because once you push that little lever on the side, that plane takes off, and it's a small item, so it's easy to be lost, therefore the string.
And it would be hard to come by again, I suppose, too, because it'd be very rare to have a ring like this with the parts. That plane leaves that ring, right?
That's
it
right.
Snaps up like that?
That's right.
Did the string come with the ring?
I think it did. And if it did, that's the original string.
Oh, even collecting original string now, huh?
Anything. Rare item.
TJ, let me think now. TJ, not Tom
No,
Mix.
that's Tennessee Judd.
Oh, yeah.
Good old Tennessee.
Got him, Tennessee, dead center.
Right.
I bring my own sound effects and everything with me.
Good. Tennessee, now that's a, what they call nowadays a look-around ring, but in those days they called it a mirror ring. And it's got his initials on the top, and where it had somebody else's initials or signature on the side, they punched it out and made holes. Some of these premiums were reusable. Orphan Annie had the mirror ring, and so did Tom Mix.
Do you know, was one company doing most of these premiums, or were a variety of toy manufacturers making these things?
I know that only with regard to the Captain Midnight rings, it was some famous company, I can't remember the name of it, maybe Jostin or something, that does class rings for places.
I see. Well, this is a ring? This gigantic thing is a ring?
Oh, yeah, this is a biggie. This is a big one indeed. It's a Sky King teleblinker ring, and it contains a telescope and a teleblinking unit, and you were supposed to have two of them and send messages to your friends. It was especially good at night because when you blinked it, it exposed some luminous paper that would glow in the dark. And I don't know anyone that ever used it. I don't think I ever knew anyone strong enough to wear it.
Who could wear that? You'd have to be a giant in order to... your hand would always be hanging on the floor.
And they say they never put out radio premiums for adults.
Yeah, that's really a nice ring. From Sky King, one of the good radio heroes. And this is a favorite cowboy, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Roy Rogers. This is the Roy Rogers microscope ring. And if you got it in just the right position, it would act like pretty much a magnifier, not a microscope.
Now, you look through was that a little magnifying glass on the top of this red shelf like?
Yeah, and then it went through another glass on the other side, and it merely magnified things. It really didn't act as a microscope.
Would you take that to your classroom with you and magnify some of the answers to the math problems, maybe?
No, when I went to school, the nuns would take any radio premiums that you brought into school.
Hey, that's a source for you.
Right.
Check the convents. The nuns might have hundreds of them hidden away someplace.
You know, you're right.
It could be. Now, this is it. This is that Lone Ranger atom bomb ring.
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably the most common radio premium in existence. It seems everyone wanted to get one of these, and I think the Cheerios company probably worked overtime in making them.
I had one, and of course this is not the original one that you had as a kid, though, right?
None of these are my originals. No, I wish they were.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the wing of this bomb comes off, doesn't it?
Yes, the red cap comes off, and this, as you'll notice, is an extremely good copy of the ring, in that the red cap is not cracked in any way. That's fairly common when you find these rings. The cap will be cracked or missing altogether.
Now, you mentioned a good copy. This is the second time you mentioned that, Mike. You don't mean that this is a reproduction of the ring. You just mean that this is, in the run of rings, this is a good one.
It would be economically unadvisable to try to duplicate any of these.
That's right. Now, I wonder why the Lone Ranger, who rode the range in the western United States back in the 1800s, would be associated with an atom bomb ring. How did they justify that?
I haven't the faintest idea. Do you think you could find a show on that and play it for us?
Well, I think it really was a Cheerios premium rather than a Lone Ranger premium offered on the Lone Ranger show. They never said the Lone Ranger used this thing. I think
No, they never said he used it. Not at all.
Although it has the makings of a silver bullet.
Ah, yes.
Oh, this is another biggie now. This is...
the Lone Ranger film strip ring. And it was, again, sent out by the Lone Ranger show. And strangely enough, the film strip in there is not of the Lone Ranger, but of World War II scenes. It came with the ring, and it's the only film strip that came with the ring.
So this, again, is another Cheerios premium offered probably on the Lone Ranger show. That's, again, a pretty big, pretty heavy ring. You know, you'd look in the one end, and you'd see, you just move the film strip through the little projection viewer there.
Right, and you'd see, one scene after another as it appeared on the film.
Lone Ranger film strip ring. Captain Midnight! This is what we always talk about, the secret compartment ring.
Oh, yes, indeed. And this is a very early secret compartment ring. As you can see, it's all metal. And you take the top off, and there's room in there for the tiniest little message you ever saw in your life. But later on, they combined metal with plastic, and one of the rarest rings is this Captain Midnight Mystic Sun God ring from 1947.
Now that was right along with the story that they were going in, right? The Mystic Sun God?
Oh, absolutely, a story in Mexico. And this was the last ring that I obtained for my collection, and it was so horrendously expensive to get that I just stopped actively picking up things after this.
I have to ask you what you had to pay for it then.
Reluctantly, I paid $240 for that little gem.
And this is some kid got back in 1947 for a dime.
A dime or 15 cents or so. And it's still one of the most sought-after rings.
And this is a Captain Midnight Ovaltine Shake-Up mug. Probably from 1949, and it says, Ovaltine, the heart of a hearty breakfast. Captain Midnight. We got a lot of good stuff from Captain Midnight over the years, didn't we?
Oh, we sure did.
He had a lot of shake-up mugs, right?
One every year. This one, for example, is an earlier version, and while yours just has a decal on it, mine has Captain Midnight embossed right into the plastic with the old leather-type helmet. And on the top of yours, all it says is Ovaltine Shake-Up Mug. But mine says, remember your secret squadron pledge. Be loyal, be honest, drink Ovaltine every day.
Drink Ovaltine, yeah. Captain Midnight's secret pledge.
That was it.
Now they had, I know you all have a cup here too as well. Is this from the radio days?
This could be from the television days, I think. It is a small hot Ovaltine mug, and the decal is a little scratched on it. But a friend of mine gave me this for my collection. He had it as a child. So we keep all gifts in the collection. They never get traded. It's an interesting item. Captain Midnight was one of the few shows that went directly from radio into television. one of the children's shows anyway that did that.
It really wasn't all that successful on television, was it?
No.
They, in fact, they changed it to Jet Jackson.
Yes, true.
Captain Midnight was Jet Jackson on TV.
Well, the costumes and the settings were limited, and they could never match the costumes and the settings that we had in our own minds when we listened to it on radio.
The beauty of radio.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Captain Midnight was one of my favorite shows on radio, with Captain Midnight and Chuck and Joyce and his arch-enemy, Ivan Shark, and his daughter Fury. Oh, what names they had, huh?
We're going to listen to a little bit of Captain Midnight on radio, and we'll look at some more of the great things in your collection, Mike, okay?
Great.
I'm going to, once again, touch this dial of the old radio so we can listen to Captain Midnight.
Captain Midnight, brought to you every day, Monday through Friday, by the makers of Ovaltine, the world's largest selling food drink. And now, on with the action-packed adventure, the return of Ivan Shark, with Captain Midnight and the Secret Squadron. Yesterday, when the moon arose, the Secret Squadron saw that they were surrounded by an evil-looking and menacing horde of prehistoric cavemen. A magnificent shot by Captain Midnight wounded the chief of the tribe, and at least for the time being, drove them back into the jungle. Now it's a few minutes later. Listen as Captain Midnight says, "Yes, Siki, if they should come in a great mass swarming up the tree, I don't think we could drive them back."
Ah, the good old days. Radio and the premiums that they offered us. Howdy Doody, the Lone Ranger. What an hour it's been. I'm glad you've been along with us. If you enjoyed it, if you'd like to send us some ideas of what you'd like, drop me a note. I'm Chuck Schaden. Send to Nostalgia, Box 421, Morton Grove, Illinois, 60053. So we're glad that you were here, and we hope you'll join us next time. This is Chuck Schaden. Thanks for watching.
That little chatterbox, the one with pretty auburn locks, who do you see? It's little orphan Annie. She and Sandy make a pair, they'll never seem to have a care. You little cheat, this little orphan Annie. Bright eyes, cheeks and rosy glow, there's a store of healthiness handy. My size always on the go. If you want some more, our pet Sandy always wears a sunny smile. Now wouldn't it be worth the while if you could be like little orphan Annie?
Well, here it is, 5:45 again, the time when you hear Orphan Annie before drinking your Ovaltine every night.